Joining us now, Dr. Stephen Koonin. He is a physicist and teaches at New York University, NYU. He has a new book out. I got the book, and I know we'll put it on the screen too, Unsettled. Now, this is a little pinheady, this book, but it's worth reading. I read it, and I'm a simple man, okay? He divided it into two parts, all right? So what's true about climate change? And then the second part is what we should do as a people in America to deal with the situation. All right, doctor, you know I'm a simple man, so keep this simple so even I can understand it. First thing, do you believe there is global warming?
Absolutely, Bill. As you said a few minutes ago, the globe has gotten about 2 degrees Fahrenheit warmer in the last 120 or 130 years.
Why? Why is it getting warmer?
Well, it's some combination of human influences, and humans are certainly influencing the climate, but also there's a lot of natural variability in the system. And right now, we don't know whether it's half and half or 75-25 or 100% human. The science is still out for discussion.
Okay, so you can't pinpoint how much fossil fuel and pollution that's human generated and how much is just a natural cycle in nature. Is that correct?
And it's not that I can't pinpoint. Everything I'm telling you is the consensus science.
Pinpoint. Okay. So
No.
the left, the liberal wing in the world, they basically have convinced most human beings that there is a climate disaster underway. How did that happen?
Well, you know, there's a long chain of information that starts with the basic research, goes through the UN and US government reports, gets summarized, and then gets transmitted to the media. And as the information goes along that game of telephone, there are so many opportunities for mischief and misinformation. And when I hear people talking about climate crisis, climate emergency, climate disaster, I'm thinking, you know, I don't think the science says what you think it says, because when you read the reports, you get a very different impression.
And no one reads them. Now, you're at NYU, one of the most liberal universities in the world. So you saying what you just said to me can't make you popular. There's a tremendous amount of peer pressure in academia and in the media to conform to the theory that there is a climate disaster, correct?
That's correct, Bill. But, you know, I'm far enough along in my career and I've got a bit of stature, and I feel like I just have to speak the truth and try to better inform the debate that goes on about what society should be doing about this.
What's in it for the progressive left in America, in Western Europe, all over the world, to frighten people about climate change?
Well, you know, I'm not a politician, I'm not a student of human behavior, and so it's hard for me to get into people's heads. But I would quote a guy named H.L. Mencken early in the 20th century who said, the purpose of practical politics is to keep everybody afraid all the time.
All right, Mencken, of course, a journalist out of Baltimore, who was a titan in the press. But there's got to be an end game here. So Joe Biden, the president of the United States, is an enthusiastic climate change warrior. Donald Trump was not. Donald Trump loved the fossil fuel industry. He didn't buy the climate change at all. So America itself is now divided. All right, as you saw in the poll, 52% say there's a disaster, 48% say no. Is there ever going to be a consensus in this country, or is it always going to be a political division?
Well, you know, the underlying science is what it is. There are certainties and uncertainties, and the science has got to inform the political debate. The political debate is about values and priorities, and let us have that debate, but let's not say that the science demands that we do X or Y. I think that's just totally disingenuous.
But
I
the
think
corporate
what's going to
media,
happen.
the corporate media is not going to not going to report your point of view. I don't know how your bookings are with your new book, whether you can get on a Today Show but I doubt it. Am I right or wrong?
We've been trying. We've been trying.
But they're
So
not
far
knocking
without
your
success.
door. They're not knocking your door down to get you on Good Morning America or any of 60 Minutes or any of these things, because they have a narrative. Corporate media's narrative is there is global warming. It has to be taken care of by a central government in Washington. We have to spend trillions of dollars taking care of it. But then the stat that I just gave you about China, doesn't that negate anything that we would do?
Absolutely. You know, the US is only 15% of global emissions. And even if the US were to go to zero tomorrow, that would be wiped out by growth in emissions of the rest of the world. And I think even that fact has now been admitted by President Biden and Ambassador Kerry.
Yeah, he did. They say, we want to show a good example. And I don't mind that. But I don't want to gut the U.S. economy. I mean, closing down the XL pipeline was insane. It was just a self-destructive act because gas prices now are up $1 for people who got to make a living. You know, I mean, it's just self-destructive.
I think that our energy system is being driven by people who really just don't understand what it takes to deliver fuel reliably or electricity reliably. Let me give you an example right here in New York. You know, I'm 10 miles roughly north of the Indian Point nuclear station. That was shut down on Friday for good. If you look at the emissions-free electricity that station generated, it was equal to all of the wind and solar generation in New York State. And it's going to be replaced by gas. So what are we doing here? Is this really an existential threat?
They don't know what they're doing, and they don't care. That's the problem. They really don't care.
So
one more thing.
I think
Go ahead.
I was going to say, what's going to happen is eventually we're going to start to see the lights go out. People are going to realize that we've gone down a path that's just too rapid and too much, too fast, and heads will start to roll.
I don't know about heads rolling, but we saw in Texas this winter what happens when you can't get energy. You know, I went out to Alaska a few years ago, and I did this because I am an environmentalist. My viewers know this. I dive, and when I see plastic in the oceans, it drives me crazy. This plastic in the ocean business, this is a big, big threat. We should all be fighting that. But anyway, I went to Glacier National Park, one of the most beautiful places in the United States. And that glacier has receded about 50% from where it was 15, 20 years ago. It has now melted 50%. And I had the guys with me, the naturalists who live there. And I said, is this warming? And they go, yeah, this is. And when you see something like that, it's upsetting. Did I overreact?
No, you know, we've seen warming over the last 30 or 40 years in the glaciers. But if you go back about 100 years, the glaciers were melting about as fast. So there's a lot of natural variability in the glacier melting and also in Greenland melting. And again, this is not Steve talking. I can show you papers that have been published in the last year or so by reputable mainstream climate scientists that show that.
All right. Book is Unsettled. All right. If you really want to know and arm yourself with the facts, which is why we're in business. And the author is Dr. Stephen Koonin. Hey, Doc, thanks for helping us out. Really appreciate it. Good luck with the book. Fellow Americans, I am concerned about the U.S. dollar. Huge debt, as you know. Will it stay as the world's reserve currency? That's why now more than ever, I recommend you diversify with gold and silver. And the only company I recommend, and have for years, is American Hartford Gold. I trust them. I've personally done business with them. They sell physical gold and silver delivered right to your door or put inside your IRA. And they make it very easy. So call them right now. Make sure you tell them Bill O'Reilly sent you, and they will give you up to $2,500 of free silver on your first order. Since I have been recommending American Hartford Gold, gold shot up more than 40%. Silver, more than 60%. So don't wait. Call them now. 866-501-5201. 866-501-5201. Or text Bill to 65532. Again, that's 866-501-5201 or text BILL to 65532. Bill O'Reilly here. Thank you for watching this video, and make sure you subscribe to the First TV YouTube page. Just hit the big red subscribe button below, and you'll get clips and highlights of my program, The No Spin News, every single day. We'll see you soon.